Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Interstellar Podcast. This one will not be a video because it was more so on the whim, and I am also at a park where I normally go to when I need to reflect and stuff like that. I have a ton of thoughts and truths and realizations and epiphanies and conclusions, and I just pressed recording. It's me in the sky over here, very peaceful, and here they come, this loud shit. So hopefully it doesn't get too loud, but I want to talk of I'm going to start with some astrology, basically. Regarding this Pluto opposition with the moon right now. I am still pretty new to astrology. I am only referencing natal astrology at this time. Again, this is going to be speaking on, I'm going to be using a combination of natal astrology, a pull tarot, and I'm not going to discuss again some dreams, reference some conversations, and maybe some posts that I've seen, including my own, because I really don't know how long this is going to be. I called out of work today because I was just feeling way too restless, and there's also another transit with indecision. I can't remember off rip which one it was, but there was another one that is causing a lot of indecision. I think it has to do with Mercury. I don't know if it's the Mars-Mercury one. No, I'm not sure. I think Mars-Mercury is just be careful what you say, how you say it. It could just be very quick. People not really thinking too, words can just be unfiltered right now. And they have been, including my own. But I want to talk about this Pluto and natal, not Pluto natal, but Pluto opposition with the moon. I looked up the transit. If you go on Astro Cafe, I think, they will give you a little more in depth of what, a very basic, understanding of what's going on. But I'm going to read some interpretations from astrology.com and what's this called? Astro Matrix, right? There's two. But the overall theme of the Pluto opposition, Pluto-opp-moon is basically, or moon-opp-Pluto, depending on how you say it, but it talks about unconscious emotions, hidden truths, deep reflection. It's desiring intimacy as well, but it's kind of it's a bit difficult to find, and whatnot. So I'm just gonna read some stuff about just this transit. Hold on. Okay, so on Astro Matrix it says, during the transit of Pluto opposition your natal moon, you will confront deep unconscious emotions projected onto your loved ones. Negative feelings like jealousy, guilt, control, and manipulation may surface, especially if you have used these tactics before. if you are in a possessive and restrictive relationship, the pressure will escalate until it explodes or is addressed. To navigate this, be open and honest and expect the same from others. If someone refuses to be honest, it may be best to end the relationship. Use this time to examine your habitual responses, differentiate, I think that's how you say it, between actions to please others and your true needs. Emphasize your authentic desires and diminish those linked to others' expectations. The cycle aims to connect you with your core and foster a sense of belonging to both familial and broader life groups. If you feel disconnected, you have the power to change that. Consider moving or making significant breaks to maintain what is vital and let go of what is unnecessary. Reflect on how you can embrace your true needs and release the expectations of others. How can you foster a sense of belonging in your life while maintaining your individuality and uniqueness? Okay. And that, hopefully this all ties together, but that goes into a lot of what I've been reflecting on since my sister passed, since my sister was in the hospital. I think, I started really, my sister really shook me out of like a certain perspective. I can't really say which one it was. I feel like it was more than one. But she really shook me out of the perspective, definitely, of putting too much of our happiness into external things or people, places, whatever. Just walking the hospice floor was very eye-opening, and seeing her. There was this one night, I think a few days before she passed, I was staying with my mom that night, and my sister, she had been on hospice. And just to let you know, when you're on hospice, like, they don't really, the only thing they care for is to make you comfortable. So my sister wasn't really being on any like nutrients or anything. She was mainly being injected with a bunch of drugs to like keep her calm, less anxious, because during the dying process, like, your anxiety, like, it can be out of control because your body knows, right? But so she was really injected with like a lot of things just to keep her calm and whatnot, just peaceful. But her situation was, even when you're on hospice, you can still like eat or whatever, right? But for my sister, she was unable to, because of her situation. Like, there was nowhere for her to like digest anything. So she was basically, her last 2 weeks of life were just, she wasn't eating anything, drinking much, and if anything, and basically just slowly withering away and stuff. So it's that's her, just keep that in mind. It's not that, it is a little heavy, but just keep this in mind. But hopefully it'll show you how drastic, or how you'll understand how drastic the mental shift it was for me then. But seeing her experience that, and my sister, her entire life, she experienced like a lot of pain, and she, like that night, one of those nights I was staying there and whatnot, my sister would still have these moments where she would wake up, like the drugs would kind of wear off, she would wake up, she would either be kind of whiny, or she was just looking for my mom, or basically still trying to like play or something, which was shocking. Like it was, I don't know, I really don't know how to explain it, but she was basically, you know, the longer she was on her deathbed, the weaker she got because of her situation. But the entire time she was still like being her, trying to be herself, you know. So she would have these moments where she was experiencing like pain, you know, and she would be whiny, crying out. She would be soothed, you know, they will, you know, help her get more comfortable. And then, you know, once she got comfortable, she would go back into like, she would, you know, trying to like play. My sister, like, again, she has cerebral palsy. She wasn't really able-bodied, like mentally. She couldn't talk. You know, she was awake, aware, but she never could like, she's not like average human being, basically, like, you know. So she was still trying to just like still be herself, even on her literal last leg of life, right? And I was, that night I was staying with her, and this would kind of like sent me into like this little mental state where, you know, she was very weak. Like you can hear it in her voice and stuff, right? So, you know, in the middle of the night, she woke up out of nowhere and was still, she would have these moments where she would try to have like a laughing spell or like a playful thing. She would just wake up really happy, right? Trying to play, making her noise, clicking and stuff like that. And, you know, that night, like, it was different because of how weak she sounded, but yet she was still like feeling whatever she was feeling. She still woke up feeling that joy, right? She was, you know what I mean? Like, she still was feeling that emotion, basically, and she was still trying to be herself. And like, me and my mom looked at each other like, this girl's still trying to play. Like, she's still like, you know, like, it's like she's literally like, don't even know if she's gonna make it through the night, but like, she's like playing still, right? And so what shook me was walking through the hospice floor and seeing other people on hospice and how different their experience was. You know, like us, you know, like someone like me, you listening here, you can understand me, you can, you know what I mean? You know, you probably go to work, you have goals, you have something that you're trying to work towards, you know, and, you know, we're all out here searching for like a peace of mind, happiness, working on ourselves to try to like heal the world, XYZ. And we have all these like expectations for ourselves, for others, and what we feel like what life should be like, you know, and we get so attached to that. And because we think like all of that will bring like our happiness and stuff, right? Or it'll finally bring us that peace that, you know, everything that we're searching for. And it's crazy because I have to, like, as I'm realizing all of this, like, it's not like an easy mindset to like keep, you know, like it's something that you have to kind of keep reminding yourself of, because we do have social media and we have, you know, it's so easy to get caught up in that again, you know, of the opposite type of mindset of, you know, chasing these expectations, right? But so people like me, or older people who were once like me or like you know, on hospice, everyone, and I also used to work in like healthcare administration myself. Like, I used to be intake coordinator. I used to work for a lot of people who were on home health care services, whether they be in hospice or they receive like an aid or something. And so seeing what I saw on hospice and just knowing what I know from my experience of working in healthcare, a lot of people who reach that stage of life always are, it's just very a lonely, dark, depressing time. Like depression is something that is always on their diagnosis list. You know, these people, not everybody, you know, I'm pretty sure there are some people who can reflect and are happy with themselves. But from what I've seen, because they will sometimes leave the door open, how these people will have like one-on-one around them, like family, and that's getting into like a race difference there. But you know, these people that I was witnessing on hospice at this time were mostly white individuals, and like they were, I'm assuming, more wealthy people at one time in their life. Like they looked like they had like a long life, obviously. And you know, it just made me like, you know, seeing them, I just imagine them like just sitting there in their room alone, like they will be looking pretty like depressed, like pretty out of it, you know. And I was just like wondering what would be going on through their head right now, right? You know, of course you're thinking about all the shit, you know, we always say that too, like we're always like, you know, everyone's goal is to be at their deathbed and not full of regret and, you know, wishing I should have, could have, done this or whatever. But I'm pretty sure a lot more people than not were on that floor, feeling like that. And that night when my sister was like, could barely, like her breaths were getting so super shallow. Like, you know, she could barely breathe, but she was still using her last breath to like try to laugh, make her noises, things that brought her that feeling of joy and contentment, right? And that's been her whole life. Like my sister has been through incredible pain. She's been mostly bedridden. She hasn't traveled the world. She hasn't seen all of what life has to quote unquote offer. You know, she wasn't in her room reading self-help books nonstop. You know, she wasn't running from herself. You know, she never really had, you know, all these ups and downs like we do. You know, where we constantly lose ourselves, find ourselves, get lost in the hustle and bustle and having to come back. You know, everyone's life lessons are different. But for her, like just looking at her life and just seeing, I feel like I also looked at me and my sister's astrology as well. We're going to get into like 12th house. You know, the 12th house is like karma and stuff like that. And we both have the same placement with the same anxiety situation and preoccupation, considering a dear one. I never understood what that meant until I looked at my sister's chart and was like, well, what was our preoccupation? It was our sister, taking care of our sister. And that's why you can't tell me astrology ain't real, bro, because that should be too accurate. But back to what I was saying, all of that pain, like I feel like her main life lesson, and this also is going to tie into like purpose, because her purpose was a big purpose, despite it not seeming so, you know. But I feel like what she was meant to teach me and my sister, or just me, or listen, what I took from her, was what true authenticity is, and what like where happiness and joy really like truly come from. You know, my sister would laugh at little shit. Like, we would, her favorite sound was the like sound of bells, keys jingling like a baby. Imagine being like in a baby state, literally 34 years of your life. And it's all going to tie into what I'm talking about with the Pluto-Moon and stuff, and we're going to get into the tarot and stuff. But imagine being in a state of like a baby for 34 years, and like, little shit just makes you happy. Same thing like a puppy, like, or my dog, like Saint. You can buy Saint all the toys in the world, bro, but what makes him the most excited is a bottle cap. Like, you throw that man a bottle top from your water, and it's like he is in the best like mood he's ever in. You know what I mean? Like, he's having a time of his life. You give him a sock, time of his life. And yeah, it's like you spend all this money on toys and stuff, and not that he doesn't play with them, but he doesn't really find fulfillment in them all the time, as much fulfillment in them, because he truly, genuinely, I don't know what it is about the bottle top. I don't understand it, but he likes it. And I know it isn't healthy to always like throw it to him, but like, I just like seeing him have that moment. Like, he really truly just like loses his shit, and whatnot. So that's where my mental is right now, just kind of like really just following what makes me happy, right? Understanding that, like, it's also helping me like be more grateful, learning how to be more content with the present moment despite what's going on in my life. Because if my sister can do that shit, bro, I don't think any of us can, or I don't think any of us can't, And so that's just what I was like, what I've been learning and getting back into this whole Pluto thing about the whole like control, manipulation, this like deep emotions, reflection type of era or moment this is for me. A lot of us actually, but depending on your moon sign, I think. I don't know if I used Astro Cafe for the daily transits using my chart, so I don't know if Pluto is only opposite my moon, my natal moon. For myself, I think it's a collective thing, because when like Pluto moves, like, those are more collective, like, those are like broader scale. But when it hits the moon, it's like it's everyone's like home life, emotions and stuff like that, interpersonal relationships. So anyways, that being said, the conversations that and like the inner reflections I've been having since my sister, I've that like seeing that moment of her like trying to be herself in the middle of the night. She's like not even have like 48 hours left or something, and be so weak. It really sent me into like I really like lost that's the first time I like started bawling for real. And then afterwards I I just been like, that moment taught me how to reflect, like, or to observe emotions basically, instead of accepting them as more of like a identity of like who I am other than what I'm feeling, and it's like I have paid for a lot of mentors. I have searched the web nonstop, and it's like these people say the same things as well, but you don't really truly understand it until something in your life kind of makes it click. And so I've just been I really feel like I don't want to say I'm not depressed no more, but I don't feel depressed. I don't really associate with that that name, that thing anymore because of that. Because it's like, and you realize that depression, the only difference between my sister not being depressed and those people in hospice, other people in hospice who were more like you and me actually being depressed, the difference was that the understanding of where their happiness came from. They spent most of their lives like trying to build a happy life, or what they thought were happy lives, or maybe they did it, like not everyone at that age is like, I'm not making such a general assumption to where like everyone on their deathbed is like regretful again, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm pretty sure that some people were very proud about it, but the fact that they're depressed, and I think just is trying to accept the fact that you're about to die as well, is something that can, cause that even more. But, like, I don't know. I just feel like the main factor, the main root of all of depression is like, really just looking for and regret, or just like looking for so much fulfillment in the wrong things, yeah. So I spent about 30 minutes talking about that, but I want to get into how this, where's my phone, getting back to this Pluto transit, where it was like you would confront deep unconscious emotions projected onto your loved one. So the conflict, or it wasn't really much conflict, but me observing my emotions, instead of trying to like kind of stepping away from beginning to, at least during this whole transition with my sister, it, this is when I think the transit actually began, because I remember seeing it since the end of December. But I've been like, I think when it was one moment I was in the hospital, and I just felt I started realizing or recognizing my resentment, basically. How like the moment I started feeling resentful, it was like a situation that happened where I felt resentful. And instead of continuing to act that way, from a passive aggressive place, I had to kind of sit with myself again. Like, I recorded a lot of videos during this time just to talk with myself, and a lot of, in that one of the first videos I went home to make, I was like, and it goes into this whole control thing. My control issues pop up through people pleasing. Sorry for the sirens, y'all. My control issues pop up from like people pleasing, and the way that they pop up, or it was when everything was beginning to happen, and like they had first moved my sister to hospice and whatnot, and my mom had basically moved in to the hospice room my sister was in, of course, and it was a very uncomfortable time, right? And there was two things. One, I remember, like, at the beginning of it, my mom and my sister, like, we were just talking about like who was the most stronger ones, whatever, right? My mom is pretty strong, basically strong being like who can hold it together during a crisis. And my mom was seen like that, but then also myself, like my sister was like, my younger sister was pointing that out to myself, and I knew that about myself. Like, I can really hold shit together when shit hitting the fan for some reason, right? But, and for a moment there, I began to like really kind of lean into that, you know, trying to be the one to keep it together, trying to be the one to, I was, you know, whenever it's like discomfort or something in, you know, in the room, I tend to lean on like comedy, right? Whenever it's like bad news or like this a tough, heavy room, I try to be the comedic relief, which isn't healthy, but all the time, but for myself at least. My sister kind of pointed this out too. Like, I pointed it out, but she was the one like that kind of was mentioning these things, and I realized like my people pleasing things are just looking for that belonging or to be accepted, or this is how people will love me, you know, like subconsciously now. I'm thinking this, like, you know, I was ready to really lean into that role of being the strong comedic relief, you know, because it was helping everyone else feel better. You know what I mean? Like, my sister literally mentioned, she was like, she would text me, say, when you coming up here, because the room heavy, whatever, and we need some comedic relief. And like, at first, the first few times I was like, dun, 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 like, I'm coming, whatever, and whatnot. But the discomfort got too much, harder it got for me, the less energy that I had to do that. Like, I had to really sit down with what I was doing, and where the control was showing up was me trying to control everyone's emotions, or like, you know, how things were affecting them. I said something in the video about like, with the comedic relief and the fact that I started to like, the more uncomfortable things got due to like us not knowing when she was going to actually like pass, like the anxiety got so strong to where like I couldn't show up for people that way anymore, right? And so with my mom or with my sister, it got heavy for both of us, and it was just harder and harder to like go, you know, want to stay at the hospital, you know what I mean? Because we didn't want my mom to be alone with Brandy. And my sister, like, I couldn't do it, but you know, it was kind of like, you know, kind of like wanting to, I don't know, she was looking for me to still do it, but that's what I ended up kind of assuming, because I would still feel bad for leaving. Like, my sister was like, I'm not staying up there because I don't want mama alone. And so I didn't want her alone either, but you know, her reasoning being that we were scared, she was scared, and I was like, oh well, I'm scared, and so was mama. So it's kind of like, you know, just stop being like, suck it up and like just, you know, be with her or whatever. But that's when I started feeling like the resentment and shit. But it's all gonna make sense. Give me a second, y'all. And so we're going back and forth about that. And so like for a few times I would spend the night up there and not really wanting to because of the discomfort, you know what I mean? And the anxiety that I would feel and the fear. And so my, you know, me going up there, whatever, like I didn't mind it for my mom, but I was still like, it was one night where I was very angry about it, you know, when no one like put a gun to my head to go up there, you know? And so, that night is when I realized like, I think I'm gonna stay home for the next few days or whatever. But, yeah, in that video, I recorded that night that I left the hospital after, you know, finally being to a spot where like, okay, I can't do this. And my mom was actually saying like, I don't like need anyone up here. Like, you don't have to stay, right? But, you know, knowing my mom, like I kind of started like assuming, especially from the past, like my mom would take it personal if we left her completely. Like, it's just knowing my mom, you know? And I have that issue too. So when people say, oh, you don't have to, I just assume they want me to, and I show up anyway, and I had to stop that, and once I realized that, not only, especially with me caring so much about how everything was affecting my mom because it was her first child or whatever, that was passing, and like I just couldn't fathom, like I just know that this is like a big heavy hit like on her, like, and so me being there, it was in a way of less of a way of like looking for love, but more a way of trying to like be responsible for lessening, or like being responsible for other people's feelings. Like it all kind of ties into the same shit, whether I'm trying to be like the comedic relief, or if I'm trying to be like overly supportive, you know what I mean? And without like to the point where I'm neglecting like my need to go step away and breathe and like repress, like do not repress, but like decompress is the word I'm saying I need to say. But yeah, so I realized that I was trying to control like the blow of everything, right, around me. I was way too busy. Like it literally, like the first few days I was like way too concerned for my mother, and to the point where I was like literally just like not allowing myself to sit down and understand, like accept the truth that like my sister is about to pass. Like, how do I feel about it, XYZ? And I talked to my therapist about this and stuff at that time as well. So that's something that ties into this whole like manipulation, control issue thing that this Pluto-Moon is having us look at. Like, not everybody's control issues show up in a malice intent. What malice intentions are like. Or if did I say that right? I don't know, but people don't show up with like malice intentions, or I don't know what I'm trying to say, but y'all get it. Not everyone is intention to like their control issues don't come from the need to like really get you to sit down, control you or whatever, manipulate you or whatever on purpose. A lot of people are just trying to control their anxiety, and I saw that in a post. And this whole moon thing, and remember I told you about, it says something about how if you use these tactics in the past, it's gonna be made aware. And I was reflecting on, anxious, that people have been bringing up the attachment styles recently as well. We've been looking at what's really anxious attached, or what's really just like your body responding to like naturally to certain connections or whatever, because of the literal like insecurity there of not knowing, a lack of emotional clarity and stuff like that. Like you can go on Threads, you can search that up, and you'll see that all over the place too. And it's like I said, it says within the home life and broader like spaces. Right, let me put this down because the wind is blowing. I don't want my cars to fly. But I was reflecting on my issues and also my expectations of other people as well, or to like come and soothe my anxiety, or try to soothe my anxiety. So speaking of the moon, my moon is in Leo, and a lot of Leo moons kind of have this, the pattern is there to do exactly that. So like I guess it's, and this last moon was in Leo, so this definitely affects you. Like I said, your tendencies to control or manipulate or whatever may not be outright like on some Hitler shit, or I don't know, like it's not outright, but it's within like trying to control your anxiety most likely, and needing people wanting to feel secure. and whatnot. And so when things, especially when drastic changes like this happen, or when change happens or comes, we all tend to try to control the change. And when I had to sit down, I can't even remember what day that was. That had to be like third or fourth day, second day of her being in like hospice. But what I had to realize is that I have to literally let go. I have to let, even though this time may be very dark for my mother, like that's not my responsibility to like fully, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like it's not my responsibility to like, you know, make sure that she's doing okay. Like I had to even say to myself, my mom has way more experience with grief than I do. And not only do I need to just let go a little bit, it's like, let's just trust that she has her, like she is able to get through this because she's been through, hell and high water before. This is also very important for me to sit down and just not kind of like dissociate from, or like, breeze through, in a way, because I feel like I was also trying to use, being overly concerned with my mother as a way to like not deal with my emotions, and that's exactly what was like happening. But I put a stop to that immediately once I realized that. But not only is that, like I was just looking in the past where I would have, there were like, I'm also looking back where I had like moments where I was, or times where I had like expectations or would trip out on people because they didn't meet my expectations to like, they didn't accept that responsibility to like soothe my emotions or soothe me or make me feel secure in a way. But what I also had to understand was, because people in this society now, especially, individualism is something that is a issue. You know what I mean? So what people take from the whole thing, like you're responsible for fulfilling your own needs. It's like, yes, but like we do have to care for other people. Like you have to kind of be considerate for other people in a sense. Like we can't do everything by ourselves. That's just not, we're not meant to be that, be that way. Like, it is okay to want some reassurance, to want to be around people who make you feel safe and secure and stuff like that. And that's something I had to like kind of remind myself, or just like validate for myself, because I started to kind of spiral when I had to accept that truth of like fulfilling my own needs. It's not that it wasn't more of the issue of me fulfilling my own needs. It was just the fact that I thought I had to accept almost being alone, or just accept people's lack of effort to want to foster a true connection with me, right? People who would expect me to, like I said, be a certain way for them, but it wasn't in no way, shape, or form. I had to, no way, shape, or form were looking to consider me, or like, show up for me in a specific way, even if they, in a, like, I don't know how to explain it, but definitely talking about, and we're also going to get into forgiveness and stuff like that next too, because it ties to what this card has to say. This tarot card, I pulled the Two of Wands, and I just got tired of dealing with people, or it kind of validated, this this moon transit validated me, kind of like the whole boundaries things. Like, not only am I looking at how my control issues and how ways I may have used manipulation or XYZ, I'm also looking at other people I have encountered, and I'm also at this crossroads of figuring out, how to navigate, like navigate these feelings. We're going to get into that. Just give me a second, because that ties into the 2 wands, but maybe I meant to go ahead and talk about that. But yeah, so I would have these people like, show up, like, expect me to be the person that I am for them, like, very concerned about them, looking for them to, like, kind of looking for me to still be this overgiving person, while they can get to just, take what they can, and then I have to accept the nothing that they give me, the breadcrumbs, and stuff. So that was something that I had to, I'm like coming to terms with right now in this moment. Is kind of actually what I spoke to my sister about yesterday, because we were kind of reflecting on, we were talking about resentment. We were talking about the guilt we felt for not really wanting to deal with a specific person, or like not let go, but kind of like, for treating people a certain way, or like, I guess, setting a boundary, let's just say that, with people who, one, refuse to be honest, people who like ignore like the elephant in the room. And we were looking at like our parents and their ways of control and manipulation. And we were really going into deep diving yesterday. And there were a lot of things that, we would bring up about my mom. And then I like saw that reflected in myself as well, because I feel like last year, I was very resentful. We were talking about basically like how you can become the people you hate, like, or that you resent so much, or like my mom, for instance. Like, I had some strong resentment, bro, with her, and I'm not saying that I still don't. But my resentment for my mom was so strong, and like I just really began to kind of despise her. I just swore I would never be like her. I was beginning to become like her. You know what I mean? In some aspects. The difference is, I actually am proud of myself for being able to want to seek people to shake me out of that. You know what I mean? Like, to shake, or to like kind of keep me accountable, keep me aware of myself. And it also has me tying, like, kind of not even just moving into like the dating circle, but just like my friend circle, and like who this new person, whoever I'm about to grow into, who this new me is like going to be around and wants in her circle and stuff like that. And like, what I need for sure. But I really was in some ways like those same tactics, not tactics, but it also made me look at my mom and my dad especially like a little different, as a person, because they were basically at one point hurt and traumatized like me, right? But the difference is that they never really, they spent most of their lives just like, instead of sitting still and like reflecting and getting the help that they need and talking to people and like, you know what I mean? One side, my mom would completely spiritually like bypass, really fell into like the whole vengeful God type of believer aspect and of like Christianity. You know what I mean? You know, would do a lot of things to kind of mask or to present as if they were better or doing better internally than they actually are. Same thing with my dad, but in this case he hated his dad so much that he started to kind of like, he became him in a sense, especially towards his own sons. Not in the same way, but eventually, like, it's the same cycle. And me and my sister were talking about that and how, like, we were just kind of, I guess, pointing out our own cycles, like our own generational cycles, like in the family, one of which being codependency within the women, having this thing where they like chase men for either the wrong reasons or for love, you know, like there's this way of like, they will stop their lives, and a lot of them have, like, not all, it's the only, like, I'm not gonna get too much of my family shit, but a lot of them have kind of like you know, kind of put their lives or their happiness into the hands of a man. And I saw that reflected within my love life as of, like I said, like emotional needs. Like I thought, you know, I will be partnering or trying to partner with people for love. And, you know, the whole like low self-esteem shit and the low like self-worth and all of that shit will pop up. And daddy issues too. Like, I don't know, I'm not gonna go too much into that, but like we were just really reflecting, and a lot of realizations of how those same patterns were following me within my love life, you know, following, you know, the emotional unavailability, breadcrumbs, like people who would like, you know, not really choose me per se, you know, because I said to my sister, like, I understand what people say now, like when people put you in third party situations or try to juggle you or try to use you, it's just kind of like, it's just the universe reflecting back to you your need to learn to choose yourself, you know, because like you're putting that expectation or that love of, or that desperation or that, you know, that feeling of lack of love or whatever, you're putting in that happiness, like feeling fulfilled or happiness, like you're still putting that into an external being, like you're expecting someone else or something else to bring that to you when it's all really within yourself, you know. And we basically learn like the key to life, bro, is to really just like learn to love yourself, learn to forgive yourself, and then you will probably start to love and learn, or not love and learn, but love and accept and forgive other people. Most likely that's usually how it goes, is that everything starts with the self, for real. And you know, yeah, I really hope that makes sense. But we're gonna get into this card because it's literally the Two of Wands is what came out, and I didn't really, it was a guy fishing next to me, so I didn't ask my question out loud, but I asked it in my head, and I kind of guess they knew what I was like up to. But I'm literally sitting at the pier or this dock where, you know, if you look at the classic Two of Wands, card, he's like at the edge of this like balcony overlooking the water and the view or whatever, and he's holding the world in his hand. And Two of Wands, like, it's usually two paths is what I got from it. Decision making, like which way am I going to go, like just for like simple, like what I'm, the first few meanings I can think of when I think of the Two of Wands, I know Two of Swords can be like indecision, but I feel like Two of Wands is more just like looking for like a new path, like moving forward, like trying to analyze or like replan or map out or decide on like, how you want to move forward, right? And for me, like I said, with everything happening and whatnot, another thing that I learned about myself during this whole like learning to let go, learning to allow people to grow and transform for themselves, but also honoring my needs and what makes me feel good, and being okay with making the decision from that space, if that makes sense. Like when I'm thinking of like when I went to Savannah for the funeral, and this was me, an eye-opening moment for me, for a number of reasons, but I hadn't been to Savannah. Going to Savannah after a few years was sensitive for me, right? It was a very sensitive moment for me, regardless of, even though people may be like, oh, like it's no big of a deal. Like some, for me, whether people know it or not, but that was a very sensitive time for me because it was just too much down there that just put a bad taste in my mouth, let's just say. And me going back down there this time, I had got like an Airbnb, and I just was more independent this time, I drove to Savannah by myself, and in my car for the first time. This was like the first time I drove down there since I bought my car, and I had a dog this time with me, and I went to Airbnb that was like an artist retreat, very nice. And once I finally kind of settled in or whatever, like I started kind of enjoying myself, enjoying my independence or whatever, being able to come and go as I please, and whatnot. And I guess that's what is this Pluto-Moon transit is also teaching me. Like, I guess I just said that, but like my independence has been like a big theme for me. I'm just trying to figure out how to continue to gain more of my independence as I grew older, right? And the last time in Savannah, it wasn't until I left, or when I was about to leave. The last time I was in Savannah was 2017. I didn't have a job. I was living with my dad, and I remember I had these pictures before I went to Savannah. I was packing, and I went through these film pictures that I had took on my dad's camera when I was down there. And I was taking pictures of so much random shit. Like I was in the house just taking pictures of whatever, Literally, I got pictures of like flip-flops and grass, like outside the window, postman coming by. Like, I couldn't really go anywhere because I didn't have any money that was of my own. I didn't have a car of my own. I didn't even know how to drive on my own at all. And the whole point of me coming down there was to learn how to drive. Like, my dad was going to teach me how to drive, whatever. But I was during that era, like, it was right after I graduated high school, 2017. Like, I remember I had to like beg my dad to like drop me off downtown Savannah, and I would like went to the museums, Sky Museum. I went to like a little coffee shop, or went to like a little cafe, things that I do now. You know, I like to wander. Basically, that's very Gemini. I'm very intelligent. I'm very strategic. And I love to fucking wander, bro. I love it. I love learning. And, you know, I had to beg him to take me down there, and it was like always like this feeling of like an inconvenience, you know what I mean? Of wanting to go places, but you're afraid, you know, like, you know, people gotta ask you a million one questions, like why you gotta go there, like a lot of people in my family, they have like a fearful, they're like binded to like fear, lack, scarcity, especially my dad. And so, you know, you're trying to just be your own person and like do things that you love, whatever, but like, you know, having to like kind of defend that. I remember having to defend like just simple shit about myself towards my dad. Like, you know, when I wanted new clothes, I had to go to him and ask him, and, you know, he had to approve of it before, you know what I mean? Before he bought it for me. So like, I would have to literally like beg and cry, like convince him like I'm not 5 years old. Like, you know, it'll be like a dress that I wanted, and because it didn't fit his nun standard, like it'll be like an issue. You know, and it's like I was reflecting on all of that, right? And just remembering even this moment when I came back to Atlanta, before I even knew how to drive, I was working with my mom, and I was staying in the basement. And I remember it there too. I remember feeling so stuck, so limited, so like bogged down, restricted, trapped. And when I, you know, coming to Savannah this time around and being down there and realizing, like, reflecting on comparing 18-year-old me to 24-year-old me, how since then, I taught myself how to drive. I taught myself how to, like, I got my own car. I taught myself, like, I got my own dog. I came down here, you know, on my own terms. And I, you know, booked my own Airbnb, because even the thought of coming to Savannah and staying with family, I was like, that feeling, that discomforting feeling was every house, every person, every family member that I thought like, oh, I can stay here just to save money or whatever I thought of that, like whenever I would think of that, I will still like that feeling of like being stuck or just trapped will like will like, you know, like I'll feel it. And I when I left, man, like, I don't know, like, I feel like I made the right call, like, you know, because I made the right call of like coming down by myself and everything, because it just really showed me how like I'm growing into my own person now. I'm not really, it's not that I don't love my family or anything. It's just like I'm just my own person now. Like, I'm not really as connected to them anymore in that way. Like, I'm growing into a whole completely different person, you know? And I'm just like blanking now for some reason, but you know, I was saying that to myself in my car on the way back, like how, like, you know, how I can really do this shit, you know, like how powerful, capable I am, how whenever I put my eye on something, bro, I'm gonna go get it. You know what I'm saying? Whenever I get tired of myself, whenever I'm like, fuck this shit, like, you know, stop. And I feel like we all kind of have this moment of like, or have times where we're waiting on people to come save them or come save us, or even our own like spiritual team and stuff. You know, you know, we have those moments, but like, I've proven to myself before, even if I still had that mentality where like, bro, nobody, like, I'm finna bet on myself and make this shit happen, you know? So like, reflecting on that, I just kind of like realized like how far I've grown, and these next goals that I have for myself, like, I'm really about to like shock myself basically again. And I actually love shocking myself. That's another thing too. And so there was this guilt again with the people pleasing stuff coming up too. This guilt and that I would feel, or I would just be on edge about, was, I remember like when we were about to leave, and I was looking to, like, I was looking to put Saint up, like have Saint stay at a boarding facility, but he was late on a shot. Like, his shot had just expired, and I only had enough for the boarding room itself, like, for, you know. And so thank God I had went ahead and bought, like, I found the artist retreat that I stayed at was pet friendly, and I just, you know, I'm glad I thought ahead like that. But he, like, you know, I couldn't, like, my plan fell through of me leaving Atlanta, and I had no choice but to leave on Sunday, because of, you know, that's when I booked my Airbnb. But like, my mom wanted me to come Saturday, right? And with her, I've expressed this a many times before, but like, my mom take things so personally, and I have that issue too. That's what came up yesterday. I have that issue of taking things personally, not all the time, but it's something that I feel like I learned from her, you know. Not only because me being a Cancer rising or whatever, but like, I tend to take things personally. Used to, I'm gonna say that. But my mom is someone who will immediately take it personal, like take everything so personal, bro. Like, she'll make up a story and that'll be that, and it's like no convincing her. That's the case. Like, everything you do is a fuck you to her, basically. Anytime you choose yourself, it's a fuck you to her. And I'm not gonna say I haven't had my moments of that either, but it's a difference of knowing when to check yourself. Self-awareness, you know. And yeah, so my mom is someone who has that really strong tendency to do that, and did it the entire time, you know, of this whole process with like Brandy passing. Like, you know, I'll witness that, like, you know, feeling like entitled to certain things just because, like, you know what I mean? And I, like, whenever I usually, in my past in general, whenever I would make a decision for myself, my mom she would go to the extreme though. Like, she would blow up, like, humiliation stuff, like, you know, just calling all her friends, and like, I'm not saying the like dirtiest, the craziest things about her own children, you know, and whatnot, and just telling crazy stories, you know. So yeah, like I can kind of feel like when she's about to take something personal. Like she takes a lot personal. And so I, what's it call it? When I wanted to venture off, or like when I was telling her like I'm gonna leave on Sunday because I only got enough of the Airbnb for these 2 days, but everybody wanted me so bad to stay with family, whatever. And it's like, I understand I'm saving money, but am I comfortable? Am I, like everybody's house that, you walk into someone else's space, like you got to follow their rules, their, knowing these people, knowing our past. Like, I'm not really comfortable being around my family so long. Like, a lot of them haven't seen me since I was 18. And it's not for like an intentional like reason behind that, like a bad reason, but it was like just because like I just hadn't been down there, right? But I wasn't comfortable like being around them people. But like I kind of felt like, I started when I told her that like I needed Saint, or like the issues with the boarding places with Saint, whatever. I'm pretty sure the story that she was probably telling people was that I didn't want to like put Saint up or something. Like I was too afraid to put Saint up because, anybody that knows me and like my dog, like we have like a really tight bond. But it's like Saint has been in boarding school before, so I was like, I kind of got in my head about that, kind of ready to defend myself with that. But I just know that's what she probably took me not finding a place for Saint to stay as a way for me to get out of staying with her and my brother or somewhere. And so she was still trying to like find ways for me to like come down here, like, I don't know. I'm not going to say if it was, I don't know, for a controlling reason or not, but she was still trying to like, okay, well, I was worried about driving around Savannah with no one, like nowhere to put Saint, you know what I mean? And not really having nowhere else to like stay, because where would I put Saint? And so she would just throw things out there like, well, we'll find you somewhere. Like, I was like, I really don't want to be riding around Savannah, you know what I mean? Trying to figure out where I'm gonna put my dog, and you know what I mean? The money already tight, da 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 da. And she was like, well, it's not the time for that. And, because of the situation, but when I decided to come to come Sunday anyway, because I just knew that's exactly what I was going to end up doing on Saturday if I went too early. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to just come Sunday, and I came Sunday, and, I went to go say hey to my dad or whatever. And, check in and whatnot to the Airbnb. I was also afraid of Saint being at the Airbnb by himself because he barks when I leave, and there were other guests there, like it was like a duplex. And so I was like, well, since my mom had previously offered up my brother's like garage before even asking him, probably saying like I could stay there, like leave Saint there during my time there. And the fact that I got down there and I was like, okay, well, like I'm probably still gonna need the garage to put Saint in, because I was afraid of him barking too much and like causing too much ruckus. And then all of a sudden there was like an excuse. Now maybe this is me taking it personally, I don't know. But I didn't really take it personal. I'm just saying like I'm glad I followed the route that I did, I guess, because instead of it just being like an inconvenience or something, it was just like, okay, just praying that Saint wasn't tripping out, so yeah. But it was like what was previously like available before, like there was immediately like this my brother mentioned that like someone called animal control, right, on someone else in their little apartment thing when they had a dog in the garage. And I was like, okay, offers come and go, I guess. Well, it wasn't really offered from him, but it was like from my mom. But I just knew she didn't ask Brandon. She wanted me to pop up and with the dog and be like, I need somewhere to put my dog. And I was like, I'm not going to do that because that is just causing conflict. Like, that's just, And so, yeah, it just, I don't know, checking on that offer thing, like, it just threw me into this thing of like, also I've been following the pattern a lot. It threw me into this thinking about my independence and just like why it's so important for me, to just start to do more things outside of my family, like continue to remove myself or remove myself or distance myself, or become my own, grow into my own person outside of my family because of that. And, yeah, so that was just it was people behind me just now looking at me, but there were people behind me, but that's why I got kind of quiet. But anyways, it just showed me why I need to like grow into my own person. And speaking of my dad, and we're going to get into this whole like letting go thing. This is a long episode, but it's for me more than anything else because I need to talk through it. The whole Two of Wands thing, looking at the whole manipulation or like control thing, or just, and like needing to grow into my own person. It's just like making a decision of how I'm moving forward with life and like whatever. When I visited my dad in Savannah, me and my sister spoke about this yesterday as well. So my dad, we spent most of the time down there. Well, I did. Most of my time down there, like talking to him. He spent most of the time just like trying to convince me to move back to Savannah, and like this has been my dad's whole like goal for the entirety of like my life ever since we moved to Atlanta 12 years ago, or how long has it been since 2006? I don't know, 15, 16. Almost 20, because we in 24, 5, 6, so like, yeah, so 18, right? Y'all, I'm not doing, okay, hold on. If 2026 will make 20 years, Lexus, -2, that's 18, so about 18 years. I've been up here 18 years, and the entire time we've been up here, every time we've seen my dad or whatever, like it's always like, we need to move back to Savannah. We need to come back down here. Why did y'all move away from Savannah? Yada, yada, yada. And mind you, like, there, again, I don't know. I'm not going to address the entirety of Savannah's mentality, but the family origin that I come from, a lot of people in my family had that limiting type of mindset. And are hate change. You know what I mean? And so, like, my dad there, and like every conversation I have with my dad, or every time I try to go connect with my dad, it always steers back to the same shit of the resentment towards my mother for moving us away. Comes back up, like he just can't let that go. He brings up the up and downs that we experienced here, like we've been homeless a few times since, we haven't had the most stable life up here. And he likes to compare it to himself, how he never had to lose his house, and whatever. And also, now that I'm grown, it's more trying to convince me that I should come, even with my sister, that we should move to Savannah and work at the warehouse and whatever, right? And what It's like that's his way of control. My dad has control issues in a way that's pretty unhealthy. And my dad likes emotional control, especially when it comes to women. And you know what I mean? Like when he has financial control, you know what I mean? Like that's, kind of what he inherited from his father to an extent. But like he's, trying to always convince us to, like, we can never really talk about like our dreams or aspirations or whatever with him, because it always ties back to that. It's like super realistic, pessimistic almost type of mentality or conversation. And it's always about survival. Always buy what you need. You don't need anything else in this life but food, water, and shelter. And like, he judges judges anyone who really tries to experience the luxuries of life, or wants to experience the luxuries of life. Or like for me, I really am big on wanting to travel and wanting to really just continue growing and evolving and like becoming my own person and whatever. But like that's so not in his books for me. Like that's so against what he just can't understand or see that life, whatever. So whenever we have a conversation, it usually always ends up me trying to, even my sister trying to like defend our desires, our dreams, our goals, he doesn't understand that we don't really tie our happiness to money. You know what I mean? I don't care how much a job is paying, how much it can offer, how much stability it can offer. Like if I know I'm not going to be happy there, I'm not going there. You know what I mean? Like I can choose not to, and I understand what that may mean for me. What the not consequences, but like what choice, like, I'm making, you know what I mean? But it's like, this is my life to figure out, not his. And that's another thing, like this Pluto-Moon, this opposition is really bringing up. I don't know if anyone else has that experience, but, dealing with people who really try to control, like, want to, like, like when my dad, his way is the only way he can see it. I was like, what's the difference between me finding a job that pays that same amount of money in Atlanta and just living on the outskirts of Atlanta? Because it's like, even though Atlanta is expensive, Savannah isn't the only place that has cheaper living. Like literally Atlanta is one of the only like bigger cities in Georgia. So it's like I can literally go anywhere else in Georgia to, you know what I mean? Like, find affordable living and shit like that. Right. And I have, it's like, but his way is the right way. And if you don't follow the right way, like he kind of like, would discard you. And also like, yeah, I'm not going to even get into that, but with this, also with the family thing in general regarding this Pluto-Moon and this Two of Wands of me deciding how I'm going to move forward is the need to be open and honest about feelings and how things affected people, like addressing elephants in the room, right? Because I was talking about the darker, Pluto, the little things I read, it brought up the darker emotions. And so things like usually negative emotions, anger, jealousy, possessiveness, control, whatever, manipulation. And with me, I kind of lost my train of thought, bro. Oh my God. Me moving forward. Oh yeah, I've been reanalyzing how, like, I have to learn to be okay with, like, some people I can just like love from a distance, and some people I may just have to fully let go, you know what I mean? Completely, because when we get into like the resentments and holding on to, moon is emotions, past pain. Those are, me and my sister were talking about how hard it is to let certain things go. Like for her, she has some resentment towards my brother still, and I still have resentment towards my dad, and for different reasons, of course, but valid reasons. But we're just trying to figure out how can we let the rest of this shit go. And it's like, for me, it's hard for me to forgive someone who, and just like move past things when when the other person can't really acknowledge or be honest and open about their about how they may have hurt people in the past. And that's something, like, it just really, me not liking that within other people has really inspired me with, like, I'm very, very careful to the point where I probably take too much responsibility sometimes of how I affect people, or like my role in things. And my dad is someone who loves to put shit under the rug. Like, he will not, like, or if he does acknowledge it, like, he will never apologize for it. He will never come to have a sit down conversation with whoever to kind of work shit out, right? And my sister yesterday, she hit me like, this man may never care. And it's tying me like back to the situation that I've been having a hard time of letting go. I think only kind of like Arabia knows about this, but I had a situation last year where it kind of reflected my like, I realized how my relationship with my dad really does reflect in my love life sometimes, or just has, and with my dad, like, my sister pointed out to me, and I kind of remembered this as well. These geese are having a time of their lives, y'all. But my dad, like, will, because he doesn't like really fully take responsibility and run, and like, everyone feels shame around that. I guess what it is, like, whenever they hurt someone, there's shame around it, and people feel like they can't come back from it. People think they're completely terrible beings who can't change. So they just have to accept, like, I did that, and oh well. Like, I get just like letting go of the past. Like, I guess it's easier for them, quote unquote, but like, they just kind of don't really do anything to change it about themselves. And I'm probably talking to myself a little bit, but I'm trying. But yeah, so like, my dad would never apologize and whatever. And so my sister also pointed out how much he probably really doesn't give a shit, because he doesn't care for the relationship to mend or heal, or try to heal the relationship that he kind of like laid down for my two younger brothers, right? And like, he knows how messed up he probably, like, how the way he treated them boys growing up. He probably noticed, like, he knows how it is probably the reason why they don't talk to him now, how they don't reach out to him, or they, have all these other issues that come up because of that, right? And he just accepts it, I guess. But he would never address it, like, with them. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing with ourselves. Like, I don't know, maybe he's more open with my sister, it seems like. my sister is very, you know, she's a Libra, so she really like, you know, truth based, you know. I'm not saying she's always right about everything, but like she's really yeah, some air sign shit. And she can have those conversations and stuff, like, you know, that conversation I had with her yesterday, I really opened up about a lot. She did too. So it was like, you know, being able to validate each other, and we even discussed like our misunderstandings or just shit that, like, you know, getting to like, yeah, a lot of the tension and stuff that we felt, we kind of got to the root of it and like realized like, oh, like, you know, how communication was really just like the key to it all. And I don't know, maybe I do need to bring that up to my dad in order for it to come up, but like, you know, maybe, I don't know, I'm just assuming how things usually go. Like, you can tell my dad about himself a lot, and it's just like, you don't really do much. I don't know, like, maybe he's changing. I'm gonna at least try, y'all. But I don't know, from just speaking with my sister, it's given like he doesn't really care either, you know, like I'm not someone who can pick up a connection or rekindle a connection and never talk about like what caused it to separate in general. You know, there was one, like, I remember one guy hit me up before my sister got sick, around like the 23rd of December, and, you know, he was able to, it was someone from my past way back, he was able to like, he mentioned like, yeah, I fucked up, like this is what I did, and I understand if you don't want to talk to me after this or whatever, but I just want to check on you. And I did the same. I was like, okay, well, that's nice, but I decided, you know, I'm just going to move forward anyway, and it's like no hard feelings there. So like I really have like respect for him for that, because he's always been someone like that, you know, to kind of reach out. But, you know, I learned my lesson from last time where I tried to rekindle that, and it was like the same situation. Like, he kind of like left me on red, you know, and just like moved on. You know, not moved on, but like intentionally was just like, fuck me. And, you know, after being the one to initiate the shit. So like I learned from that. So I was like, I'm just not going to get bit again. And even though he may have changed, it's just like, I can't trust that, you know, and he knows that, you know. And so I went my way, he went his way. But, you know, speaking of how this shit ties into like my love life too, like there was another person where like, you know, they tried to come back and just kind of pick up where they left off and never really like, I don't know, they did explain it, but I can't really trust nothing that come out that person mouth. That's just something different. So maybe it is just me, but based off just reflecting and shit. But maybe this is something else that I am trying to learn to let go, because, you know, like the Pluto said, if people can't really be honest with you, and I tried to be honest with this person before, and, you know, got hung up on, basically not hung up on in my face, but like, you know, just shit was just tossed to the wind, like it didn't matter. Like that it kind of reflects like the situation with my dad, you know. Basically, I'm not gonna let this shit get to 2 hours, but like it just showed me that this person genuinely just like didn't give a care about how I felt at all. And even if it was like a misunderstanding, like, you know, like with my sister, like it's not that I'm never willing to have the conversation. I guess you just have to be have those conversations with people who are also willing to have those conversations and like get to the bottom of shit, and heal from that, and like my dream, I guess this is that I had, it was about letting go and grief and grieving people who were both dead and alive, in my life because of, how it just wasn't really serving me. And at the end of the day, what makes this shit so hard, what you hold on to things so much, is because like I still have love for people, right? And the only reason why like we felt guilty, me and my sister discussed this, like we felt guilty for even kind of like feeling like we were responsible for trying to make other people feel better. The geese are fighting again, y'all. They made us feel guilty for like trying to, oh my god, they beefing hard, but they were trying to make us feel guilty for wanting to set a boundary and like wanting to not deal with someone who may have caused great pain. Especially because they don't want to, accept that dark truth about themselves. You know what I mean? And, that was just, I don't know if that makes sense. The geese kind of fucked me up with my train of thought there. But me feeling like with my dad, he doesn't really, my sister pointed this out too, like he doesn't really contact us or contact anybody on his own will. Like the only reason I talk to my dad is because we call him still, and it's usually for money, but we don't really talk to him, and we can't talk to him. And I was thinking of like, how does that tie, like feeling the need, like feeling responsible for keeping a connection for someone who doesn't like want to put in the effort to, rekindle the same connection as well. And even though that the guys in my past that kind of like reached out to me or whatever, and were like, especially the guy from my older past, like from way back, he, being able to acknowledge that and stuff, like, I feel like, I don't know if there was this expectation of me to still kind of like be the one to rekindle the connection and like keep up with the person or like chase them in a sense. And I feel like that chasing type of energy comes from like the root, like at home, my father, and I'm no longer into that, right? I'm no longer into trying to rekindle or feel responsible for connections or put more effort into connections that don't, with people who don't really care for me in that same sense, who don't really care to put that same effort in. And that's on a friendship level too. And I think I said this sometime earlier in the podcast, but like I remember feeling like guilty for like, this whole unconditional love thing and accepting people for who they are. It's like, yes. And like, that's what you need to do. But, you don't just have to take anything, you know what I mean? Like I can understand that some people don't consider their friends, or they don't really care to reconnect. You know what I mean? Or like not reconnect, but they don't really prioritize our connection with me on any level. You know what I'm saying? Or like in any kind of way. I don't know how I want to say that. Like I don't know. I just spent a lot of time trying to kind of like me accepting people or whatever. I was ready to accepting people for who they are. I was ready to just like put up with, like the bare minimum breadcrumbs. And, and this goes into like understanding what my needs are. Like, I love friendships that are where we kind of think of each other, and I'm meeting more people like that. Thank God. I actually have a friend named Mimi where we were just kind of getting to know each other for real. And we were kind of asking if it was okay, if about romance and relation, like in friendships, like if was I like, were we both okay with that? And this isn't talking about like sexual stuff, but the romance, this is going to be a different podcast anyway, but basically we were talking about like how hard we love on our friends and whatever, like we take each other out on dates, or like we really just very emotional, very passionate, intimate with our friends, and it's not on a sexual level, and that's been so hard for me to find recently, for real, people like that, because other people are not okay with that, you know what I'm saying? And that's where I have friends where I can understand that they're not okay with that type of intimacy on a friendship level, because like I can't help that I love this hard, bro. But yeah, so like it was just very nice to like really finally like talk to someone who was kind of like that, where I can start to build a relationship like that, where it's very like intimate, and it's not like I don't feel like I have to be stiff or be a bother, like like I'm, you know what I mean? And going forward, growing into this person that I am, is just like, I'm taking all of that into consideration, like kind of honoring my needs on every single level, as I move forward in this world. Like, I feel like I didn't even finish the thought, but going into that whole independence thing, like, I can understand some people don't really like, are more independent. Like, they don't really think of their friends. They don't really prioritize their friends. They don't really prioritize like relationships, and that's okay, but I mean, I had to like finally swallow the pill. Like, I don't have to accept that, and that even if we are still cool, like, we can be associates more than anything. But at the same time, it's like if we can't even have conversations, or if I have to feel like I have to put more work into maintaining the connection, or I never really have any emotional clarity around the connection, I just don't want to deal with it at all, and that took some therapy to finally accept, like, because for some reason I felt guilty for that. My therapist, like, you have your non-negotiables, and that's okay. Like, who, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was really understanding everybody else's boundaries, everybody else's standards, everybody else's like way of life and the way they move through life, and I'm over here like, was like about to fucking like, being so understanding, where I was like, I didn't really prioritize mine. Like, mine weren't that serious. You know what I mean? Like, I just had to like put up with theirs, It's like, no, you know what I mean? And this Two of Wands is just like, I mean, I'm pretty sure if you listen this far, you can tell like I am actually so ready to let go. And I just have to work on like, fully like resentment. Like, me talking back to my dad again, like, I feel like I've moved through a lot of the resentment. It's just like, how, like, I think it's like what forgiveness looks like for me, like letting go and not put my energy into it. I guess it's just like, because holding on to that, like that anger and resentment is not healthy. And I know that. And all of last year I kept getting messages about letting that shit go. And it was just like, I didn't understand how to detach my emotions from things back then. Like, it's, I think we all struggle with that, so I'm not gonna like beat myself up about it, but I genuinely want to move on. I am ready to move on from it. And I think I cannot be afraid of what reactions may come from the decisions that I make. You know what I mean? Because even if I choose to not mess with people anymore, it's not because I have any issues with them. I think that's another thing, like the fucking trauma from my mom. Like whenever I would do something for myself, just out of genuine, like prioritizing myself and just looking out for myself, not in like a ill way. You know, it was personal. And I had my share of when I because I felt I was made to feel that way, that I adopted that mindset. So whenever someone else put themselves first or something, I felt like resentful for it. Like, why did you do that? You know, when I sacrificed so much, you know, when it's like, no, you know, like I'm kind of come up out of that, you know, and I'm thankful for this Pluto-Moon opposition to teach me that. I'm thankful for this, thankful to my sister, rest in peace, but I'm thankful to my sister for like really shaking me out of that, like being the tower moment, you know, opening my eyes for that. I'm thankful to myself for not being afraid to swallow harsh pills, you know, actively seeking to grow, you know, and I want to, and I will continue to, and stuff like that. So anyways, 1:46, I know it's been 2 hours almost, but yeah, I am hungry. I am going to go eat. I have been just even this 2 of Wands is like trying to figure out how I want to move about going about my independence. So that's why I'm at this park now, and I'm going to like maybe write some more when I get home and just like figure out like what I want. I have a plan, but you know, I feel like I've been conforming to what other people, not fully, but I've still been battling, trying to conform to what I'm being told by like my, you know, my environment, like, you know what I mean? And especially like when it comes to like where I work and how I go about getting my independence, like, you know, everybody got their answers, but it's like, I feel like that's up to me, you know, and I want to make sure I do it in a way that doesn't mean losing everything. Like the way I tried to go about it last year was premature. I was willing to, I was probably setting myself up to be in the name of this, knowing I'll be okay, but I was setting myself up to just, I don't know, not fail, but like I was going to put myself in something like a dangerous situation. Like my way I was thinking about, like I said, looking to be saved or looking for someone to save me basically, or whatever, you know, whether it be a person or my spirit guides or something. Like I put way too much faith in them that time, and there's nothing wrong with having too much faith, but like I have to be more strategic. I have to be calculated a little bit, you know, and that's what I've been doing, and I'm gonna continue to do that, and I'm gonna continue to trust myself, because, you know and I've proven to myself that I am capable of anything I put my mind to, you know, and, you know, even just reflecting on me learning how to drive or whatever, like I realized that like I didn't learn how to drive overnight. Like I had to make the plan for it. So that's what I'm about to go do now. But anyways, I hope this helps you. If you listen this far, thank you so much. I love you. I am going to post this to YouTube and podcasts on Spotify. If you are interested in supporting me, the channel, follow me on YouTube or subscribe to me on YouTube at Interstellix. Go ahead and support. the podcast, I have a spiritual shop where we are now, our mission now is to help people connect to their creativity. And it's not hard to get connected to your creativity, but we're going to the mission of Intuitive Royalty now is to basically enhance that connection. How can we make it stronger? And, because you have all the power you need to get connected. You don't need not a crystal. You don't need anything, but everything else are just tools to get further deep into your spirituality and connection with our creator. And so that's where we're going. And shout out to all my astrologers. Love y'all. Hopefully I can attract more people like this. I wonder how. I'm learning this whole social media thing, guys, so just bear with me. But yeah, thank you all for listening. I love you all. Peace.